Those red handprints on her pants, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Was that part of the fantasy I paid for? The shock on her face was priceless. She stammered about how it wasn't like that, but I just walked away. She had no idea I kept a souvenir. So this all went down about a year before the world shut down, back when the biggest health concern at my job was someone getting too drunk and face-planting on the dance floor. I worked security and helped manage an upscale nightclub in a big West Coast city, and we were hosting a massive drum and bass night. The place was going to be packed. A few days before the event, my girlfriend at the time, let's call her Chloe, gets this look in her eye. She decides she wants to go, but not just go. She wants to go as a full-blown horns and all demon. Now, I was no stranger to spending money on her. It was just part of the deal. She had expensive taste and a flair for the dramatic, and honestly, I was into it. So when she brought it up, I was already picturing it. But this was a whole other level. We hit up a bunch of costume shops, and the list kept growing: professional-grade horns, multiple pots of thick crimson body paint, special makeup, the works. As I was standing at the register watching the total climb, a thought solidified in my head. Okay, I told her as we walked out, the bags heavy in our hands. I'm all in. But there's a condition. She looked at me intrigued. What's that? When we get home tonight, I said, trying to sound casual, you can't wash any of it off until we're done. A slow grin spread across her face. She got it immediately. Deal. The thing is, this wasn't some desperate incel level plea. We were sleeping together like 23 times a day. Our whole relationship was built on this kind of wild performative energy. The fantasy wasn't just about the sex, it was about the aesthetic, the sheer audacity of it. This felt like the ultimate expression of our dynamic. It was a perfect, edgy little plan. The night of the event, I had to be at work hours before the party started. Chloe stayed back at our place for the transformation. It took forever. 4 hours later, my shift is in full swing and my phone starts buzzing with progress pics. First it's just the horns glued on, then the black eye makeup, then the first streaks of red paint across her shoulders. With every picture, my brain was just like, holy shit, this is looking sick. He was absolutely nailing it. By the time she was finally ready, it was peak time at the club. I called her an Uber and shot a text to the driver. I still have the screenshot picking up Chloe. Dressed like a demon, do not be alarmed. It was necessary. She looked like she'd just clawed her way out of hell. This was our routine. She'd often come hang out while I was working. Everyone on staff knew she was with me, so she had the run of the place. She'd pop by the security station to check on me, we'd take a shot together at the bar, but mostly I just let her do her own thing and wander. When she arrived, she looked even better in person. She gave me a quick smudgy kiss and then disappeared into the sweaty pulsing crowd. The trap was set. The fantasy was locked in. All I had to do was finish my shift and collect my prize. What could possibly go wrong? The house lights flickered on around 2:30 a.m., that ugly, unforgiving fluorescent glare that signals the party is officially over. My shift was done. The bass that had been rattling my bones for the last 6 hours finally died, replaced by the hum of coolers and the clatter of the cleanup crew stacking glasses. I felt a surge of adrenaline, the second wind you get when you know you're about to go home. All I had to do was find Chloe. I did a full loop of the main floor, scanning the thinning crowd. No sign of her. I checked the upstairs VIP lounge, then the patio. Nothing. I started asking around. Hey, you seen Chloe? I asked Barry at the main bar. He just shrugged, wiping down the counter. Not for a while, man. Same answer from the other security guys. A knot started to form in my stomach. It wasn't just that I couldn't find her, it was that I had her phone in my pocket. She'd given it to me for safekeeping when she arrived. She was effectively a ghost. I know she likes to put herself in sketchy situations for the thrill of it. It's part of her whole vibe, but this felt different. Finally, as the last few stragglers were being herded out the door, I saw her. She and someone else were walking up from the lower dance floor. The girl she was with was a classic raver chick, decked out in those colorful candy bracelets, wearing an all-white fuzzy outfit. I'd seen them dancing together earlier. But something was wrong. As they got closer, moving under the harsh functional lighting, my brain just stopped. I couldn't process what I was seeing. There on the raver girl's pristine white pants were handprints. Not smudges. Perfect 5-fingered blood-red handprints. One was splayed across her thigh. Another was pressed firmly on her ass. The picture snapped into focus with brutal clarity. My girlfriend's hands, covered in the red paint I paid for, had been all over this girl. The fantasy that was supposed to be ours had been outsourced. I didn't even realize I was moving until I was right in front of them. I don't remember what I yelled, but it was loud enough to make the cleanup crew stop and stare. Chloe's eyes went wide, but her reaction wasn't what I expected. She wasn't looking at me at the rage on my face. She was looking past me at her own reflection in a mirrored pillar behind the bar. It wasn't like that she stammered, but her hands were already flying to her face, trying to fix her smeared lipstick, trying to touch up the red paint that had been rubbed off. She was more concerned about her costume being ruined than the fact that she'd just been caught. The walk home was a blur of her trying to explain and me just walking faster. At some point between the club and our front door she admitted it. She cheated. The first thing she did when we got inside was jump in the shower. I just stood in the hallway, listening to the water run, picturing all that red paint, the evidence, the costume, the whole fucking point of the night spiraling down the drain. 10 minutes later she came out scrubbed clean and slipped into bed. She snuggled up against me as if we'd just come home from a normal date night. As if everything was fine. Reddit, I'm not exaggerating. The betrayal was one thing, but her ability to just wash it all away and pretend nothing happened was on another level. How are you supposed to react when someone shows you so clearly that their own reflection is more important than your entire relationship? The next few days were cold and quiet. I was furious not just about the cheating, but about the casual, almost bored way she did it. In her mind, the real tragedy of the night was a smeared costume. In a fit of what I guess she thought was righteous indignation, she announced she was going to try and date the raver girl. I just remember thinking, good fucking luck. It lasted all of one serious hangout. She came back to my apartment less than a week later looking completely defeated. Apparently after a minor disagreement, the raver chick had a complete meltdown and started psycho-punching the roof of her own car, screaming about how Chloe had treated her. So there she was standing in my doorway with her tail between her legs telling me how she'd made a terrible mistake. And the stupid thing is, a part of me was relieved. My brain was playing a text ID sent a friend months earlier on a loop, once a cheater, always a cheater. I knew it was true, but my heart, that idiot muscle, still remembered the good times, the adventure, the girl who was willing to spend 4 hours painting herself red just for the hell of it. Against every rational instinct screaming at me, I let her back, and it was a mistake from the second she crossed the threshold. The relationship was a ghost. We went through the motions for another couple of months, but the trust was gone. Every time her phone buzzed, my stomach would clench. If she was late coming home from work, my mind would immediately go back to the club, to the image of those red handprints. It was like we were living in a crime scene, pretending the body wasn't still on the floor. The final breakup wasn't a big explosion, it was more like a building finally collapsing after its foundation had been washed away. It was inevitable. We've been broken up for almost a year now. Life is better, quieter. But the story doesn't quite end there. The night of the incident, in all the chaos, the raver girl had left her white fuzzy hat at our place. I found it the next day tucked between the couch cushions. And I never threw it away. It sits on a shelf in my room right now. It's just this dumb cheap piece of rave gear, but when you look closely you can still see them, the faint rust-colored stains on the brim. The ghost of a handprint. Most of my friends think it's creepy that I kept it, but to me it's a souvenir. It's the physical proof of the exact moment a relationship died. A reminder that no matter how cool the costume is or how wild the fantasy, some things once they're stained can never really be made clean again. So I guess my question for you, Reddit, is this: am I a psycho for keeping it? Or does everyone have a souvenir from a disaster, a little artifact from a time they should have known better?